Alright, we're going to install the Degas bottle, as Ford likes to call it. You can see we got her pretty spanking clean. Alright, just like we took it out, put it back in.
Yeah.
Yeah, forgot to turn twist pop. Because it has to fit in this spot in the firewall. Has to get underneath this.
Yep. Forward.
Ford tough.
It's tough, all right. Tough to work on.
Tough to work on. That's not too bad. It's more procedural than it is work, really.
Would you consider getting a Ford?
What?
Would you consider getting a Ford?
If I was going to get a Ford, it would be one of two. It would be, I like the Explorers, especially like the 96 with the 4-liter. You know, that's a pretty straightforward engine. It's pretty bulletproof. And a 7.3, I don't know, seeing some of the flaws in the 5.4, I mean, I like it to a point, but the water pump housing being casted into a block, that's a problem. Chances of you finding someone who's taken really good care of their Ford is pretty tough. I'm sure it's out there, but you know, most of the cars we see are usually over-maintained.
Or they have a young owner.
You know, like this one, it has been taken care of, but it's also been sloughed too. Now I'm sure if the owner knew that, you know, not changing the coolant would turn into a major job, he would have done it. But, you know, live and learn. Alright, come in with your 8. You want this tight, but don't go ham on it. You're asking yourself, how are you going to stop that from flopping in the wind?
Easy.
Easy.
Bolt.
Put these silly things back in. Pop these up, and then these will push out.
2 hands, focus.
2-hand focus.
That's what I love about cameras.
Get the first one back in.
Ain't that just plastic right there?
Yes, these are horrible plastic. They work okay, I guess.
Standardized for every truck.
Alright, see? Nice and tight. Nice and tight. Still got this one to put in. That one we'll grab our socket for. Alright, come in with the 8. And again, you don't want to go very tight. I mean, you want to go tight, but not tight.
Wow. You want to go tight, but you don't want to go tight. Nice words there.
Well, yeah, because you can crush the housings if it's too tight. Alright, 1 hose to go. Well, 2 actually, but 1 major hose to go. We'll put that in now. Alright, we're going to put this last hose in. I'm going to do it without looking.
You're that good.
I'm that good. Again, make sure it's all the way up. Alright. Okay, so you see where the clamp is? The nipple's right here, and you want to be up in here. Alright, put the clamp on next. That I do have to see. We're going to cheat.
Haha! Bit! Who's my 4 to the advantage?
I'm going to show you how these groovy tools work.
Let's hope it doesn't fling into my face.
It won't.
Yep. Like it did to your hand. Dang, this is dirty. But
now you may think that that's where the hose is supposed to be, but I assure you it's not. I don't know, this tool works, but it's definitely interesting.
uh-huh.
Yeah, it's not quite where I want it. I don't know, for 34 bucks it works, but I'm sure there's better tools out there.
Mm-hmm. It kinks too much.
Yeah, maybe it just doesn't like the Ford. Zip clamps here. There we go. Come on. Alright, feel for the nipple. Make sure you're above it. Straighten this out so it's not in a bad place to get to if it ever has to be taken out again. Alright, check feel for your nipple. Plenty of hose, and we're good to go. Alright, so we're going to put the pulley on. Normally I would probably put the upper hose in and start the bleeding process, but being I'm trying to show you folks the complete job, and that you can do this out of order. But if I put that big hose in, you won't be able to see anything else, and I want to show you putting the belt in, putting the pulley on, putting the fan on, all that good stuff. So we're going to go ahead and do that now. One trick I have with these pulleys is losing the light. But anyway, you notice you have 4 holes, and you can get this pulley and water pump out of sync and really have a hard time getting a pulley on. The easiest thing to do is bring the first bolt 12 o'clock, install your pulley at 12 o'clock. Alright, 12 o'clock, 12 o'clock. Don't strip your threads. Hand tight. Spin it around. 12 o'clock. Spin it around. 12 o'clock. And spin it around. 12 o'clock. These bolts torque up at 19 foot-pounds. We're going to do that when we got the belt on, but we do need to get this tight enough so we don't cause our pulley to sit weird and funky. Just grab the hub, go around. We will torque it once the belt's on. Okay, right now that's tight enough. Next order of business I almost forgot about. Got to replace our noisy pulley. It's a 1/2 inch or 13-inch bolt to get that off. Okay, you're going to have to reuse the bolt with the aftermarket replacement. Well, I got a little bit of scoring there. Yeah, that pulley's been bad for a little bit. It shouldn't be spinning on its axis on that. Alright, we got a new one from Gates. Here's the part number 38001. It's called a BS pulley.
Bullshit.
No, it really does say BS.
Bullshit. It's kind of small.
Yeah, once the belt rubs, this will get shiny and you'll see your belt line. But this one I guarantee you won't howl like the old one. Now these are pre-lubed from the factory, so there's no sense to put any grease anywhere on this. It'll just contaminate what they put in there from the factory.
You sure it's pre-lubed?
Yes, they're sealed bearings for life.
How do you know?
Well, because that's what they tell me in the book.
They tell you that in the book, but that doesn't
Tell you that in the book.
That does not mean it's true.
True.
They can always tell you, oh yeah, it is, but really, it's not.
It always amazed me when I was learning about bearings that when you put a new one on, it feels so tight, and you would think the bearing would be bad. But then you go to the old one and it spins like crazy. That's the bad one. And it always blew my mind that no, bearings, there's a certain tolerance and speed they should have. And when they're bad, they just freewheel and howl and make weird noises. When they're new and tight, they will stop. Sort of like this water pump one. See, the alternator one's getting a little tired. But it's okay. But look at the water pump. Look at that one. You're in the tensioner. Tensioner, yeah, I give it about another 20,000. It's going to need one. Alright, we'll torque this up. You can over tighten these, so be careful there. I am going to go to my book real quick and check the torque on this, because we're going to torque everything to spec. One thing I don't do, you'll see some other guys do, they'll just tighten the bolt to tell you it's good. Me, as a technician, everything has a torque spec. So let me check that real quick. Alright, 19 foot-pounds.
What else is wrong with this Ford?
Alright, next thing we're going to do is install the Serpentine Belt, which on this one is actually really easy. I was kind of shocked.
Wow.
One of the easier things to do. Maintenance. They thought of you. Alright, so now we're going to be installing this Micro V K060990.
Yeah.
Alright, this belt install is pretty easy. The only tricky part is getting it through this pulley down to the AC. Alright, so the hardest part about this deal is getting it wrapped around the AC. So just pull it down. Give yourself a little bit extra belt. If I didn't have a camera in my way and a light falling.
Well, hey, this is a good idea.
I gotta get on the other side and get that wrapped around.
Oh. And almost die?
Well, I'm actually gonna get in the way. Alright, so pretty much run the belt underneath the AC. That's the hard part about this. The rest of this belt's pretty simple to do. Alright, from the tensioner down to the crank pulley. Okay, make sure it don't slide off the tensioner. Come up to the water pump. Move this annoying light out of the way. Okay, water pump, power steering pump. Watch everything get unraveled. Watch this light get in my way for the 500th time. Alright, and as you can see, we're back at the alternator. Okay, we can let it fall there for a minute, get our breaker bar. Make sure you're on all your ribs. And other than that, the belt is now installed. Alright, next order of business, we're going to torque these. We may end up having to put a pry bar in place to hold it so we can get this. I'm going to see if this belt will actually hold it now that it's Not a worn belt. 50-50 on that one. Alright, let's get our 10 mil back and 19 foot-pounds for that too. Alright, let's see what survey says. Well, first off, it's not a 13, it's 10. Yes, is my peanut gallery over there clapping for me? Alright, we got the first one.
Everything good? you having a...
Well, see, I've got a fan in my way.
Uh-huh.
That doesn't help matters much.
No, it does not.
Alright, these bolts you can definitely over tighten. 19 foot-pounds, no more, no less. Now you can see how that belt almost held that, but we're going to put a torque wrench on it just to double check. Because here we're all about the specs.
Seems to be tightening up.
Oh, that's pretty cool. I'm turning the whole engine over.
Huh? What do you mean?
I get it just right.
Something fell.
That was the chain tensioner tightening up. Alright, so you see there we're spinning. So now we're going to have to bind that up. Okay, that one's torqued. Move to the next one. Okay, move to the next one. Okay, move to the next one. Okay. I mean, the way I see it, if you can turn this engine over with one bolt, that bolt isn't going to come out. Alright, last job before I put the upper hose in. We're going to put this fan on that's been bouncing around on me this entire job. If you notice, well, you're probably not going to be able to see it, but on the camera, there's a little bit of oil pre-installed here, so this doesn't seize to the water pump. That was a problem in the beginning when they used these big nut style fan clutches. You could get away with using a little bit of anti-seize, and I'm talking a very tiny bit, but being we already have lubrication on it, I'm just going to use what was factorily there. Grab your fan. Make sure you don't cross thread it. This one's kind of heavy, so you definitely want to take your time. Kind of lift up on the fan. And then spin it back on. Alright, one video I watched a guy basically say put it on light and let it torque itself. The book calls out for 41 foot-pounds, so you know, you can do at your own discretion. Me, I am going to tighten it back up. It is true that it does spin opposite to the way it comes off, so that way we don't ever... It's virtually impossible for one of these to fall off. Now, I'm not saying it can't happen, but I would get it in the ballpark. But if you put a big wrench on it and get it tight, you shouldn't need to go past that. Alright, let's get our big tool out for that job. We've got a little ways to go yet. Alright, see, now we got to the stop point. Will she ever stop? Who knows? Okay. Now you see right there the whole pulley spinning. So how are we going to verify its torque? You're going to take that screwdriver you're using to pry the water pump bolts. You're going to put it in there and torque it. And we don't want to over torque it because the day that this fan clutch dies, we don't want to make it hard for the guy who's going to replace it to take it off. Alright, check for rotation. That thing's nice and tight. Make sure there's no broken blades because it is plastic. Other than that, good to go. We're going to check that belt one last time before we move on. Always double check your work. Run all the ribs. It's looking like we're just about there. Alright, next order of business, we are going to put the upper hose in, get some water in this thing, and then it's going to sit overnight. We're going to let the vacuum action kind of self-bleed it, but at some point we are going to have to start that. Start the engines, and off to the races.